Welcome to the very first episode of the Beyond the Surface of Body Image podcast. This is Bethany, and I'm Bethany. Don't get confused. I know it's really hard to tell us apart. But each episode, the Beyond the Surface of will be filled in the blank, and this week is body image. And we brought in the first guest, Bethany C. BJC, and we're both BJCs. Look at that. Woo. And we're also at some point possibly going to be building with Legos. I will be eating lunch, and Bethany will be enjoying a cream soda. So there's going to be a lot happening. But and if you see a puppy dog, that would be Gibbs. The one time, hey Gibbs, come up here.
There we go.
There we go. The infamous Giblet. Yeah, you can sit right there. That's perfectly fine.
Well, I was kind of leaning over a little bit, so I might be blocking a shot. Sorry,
that's okay.
You can't be a star.
Later. Next time. Next. And if you hear other noises, those would be my rants.
Parental guidances.
Yep, they pay the bills, and I live here for free. So.
And don't be ashamed of that.
Not at all.
Not.
Very proud to not have to pay rent. It's my proud accomplishment. So we're just going to start off right away. Just, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us who's Bethany Carlisle.
Well, if there's one thing you should know about me, is I love Jesus.
Woo! Jesus!
That's all you should know about me. Just kidding. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of a meme where it's like, I like to sing, dance, and kazoo. I think that's what it is. And then
is that what you do in your free time?
I don't kazoo, but I do.
Okay.
I do
Ukulele.
dabble with other instruments like piano, ukulele, electric ukulele,
Pop off.
And sometimes I pick up the alto sax. I don't as much anymore, but I wish I had picked it up more.
I pick up nothing except for my food to my mouth. That's what I do.
That's so real, though. That's so real.
You don't have to say specific location, but what do you do for work?
I work at a credit union. As for someone who's not very fast I probably should not be admitting this, but as someone who's not as fast as math as I want to be, I work at a credit union, so.
I work at a school and I failed math, so if that makes you feel any better. That's preschoolers. They don't even know anything.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so now we know Bethany, credit union, ukulele, rock star. We're just going to jump right in, and let's start with this. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2022. I'm a youngin'.
Yeah, you are. So it's been a decent amount of time since you've graduated.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think this will be year 3 of me not being in high school.
That's weird. This is my 4th year.
I did that fast.
Yeah. We didn't need to pass math for that. So between your time let's just start with high school, and it's been only 3 years, which isn't a ton of time, but it is also a lot of time passed. A lot of things happen.
Yeah.
What would you say would be your biggest struggle with your own body image when you were in high school?
Ooh.
And you can kind of compare it to now, or you can answer those separately. But just what was this was the struggle in high school?
Well, it's definitely different because I only went to public high school when I was a freshman, from sophomore to senior. So, if I was technically not in public school for 6 years now, so if that makes sense,
yeah,
if the math
it does.
adds up. So I'm gonna kind of add middle school into this.
Yeah, go ahead. That's
too, because homeschool. I was around my parents. The only thing that I had was social media,
right?
Essentially, but while I was in school, it was a lot of oh, well, my friends are doing sports and they're skinny and I am not that way, even though I do dance. And so it was just kind of a lot of it is just comparing myself to other people, and it's rough. You can get inside your head.
Oh yeah.
So much doing that.
For sure. So how would you compare, what would you say your biggest struggle is now then?
Now,
if it isn't the same thing, or if it is.
Now it's more of I try not to compare myself.
Yeah. You're more aware of it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm now I'm in that state of like, okay, like, you know, I'm fine with
Yeah.
how I look, and I really shouldn't judge on what other, like, if other people say
Yeah.
anything, and like, but you know, there's still sometimes when a lot of it also comes to social media, just being like, oh, you know, I kind of wish I looked like that, but whatever, scroll. Oh, there's another person that looks somewhat like that. Okay, well, whatever, scroll.
Yeah.
Like,
For sure. So I don't know if you ever got on this bandwagon, but I definitely did, where workouts were like, if I'm not working out, then I can't look a certain way, or like I have to work out. I mean, for me, I did go through a season with a not healthy relationship where he was like, "Oh, you're in great shape," and I was like, "Oh, I'm starving myself." I was like, "I'm glad you think I'm in great shape." So there was this mentality of, this is great shape. If I'm bigger or smaller than this, I've lost cuteness and attractiveness.
yeah.
But a big thing for me, and I don't know, again, because you were in public school, so like one thing
Yeah.
for me and being in public school and around everyone who's in sports, like you said, like everyone's in sports, they're all skinny, and it's like, I'm not in sports, why don't I look like that? Or
Yeah.
I am in sports where I don't look like that. But like, did you ever struggle with like workouts or like the mentality behind that? Or did you always feel kind of like in a healthy headspace when it came to working out?
Funny story, I don't work out.
Well, in high school, like with dance and doing stuff like that.
Yeah, wait, sorry. What was the question again? Sorry, just thinking
No,
about
you're
dance.
fine. So, did you have I'm trying to think of how to word this. Like, did you have a healthy mindset, or what was your mindset behind working out when it came to how you looked? Or were they not related at all? You're just like, oh, I'm doing what I love. Who cares how I look? Or did they coincide?
So because dance was kind of like really the only like sort of exercise I was getting besides, like, in high school I took band at a gym, so
Yeah.
you know, carrying the super heavy alto sax was not super heavy, but like, yeah, so like when I was working out, it was more of just like not even really thinking of how I was wanting to look, but more of just like, okay, well, like, I just got to get through this because I'm so out of breath. But then it also was like, well, maybe I'm out of breath is because, you know, I'm out of shape and I
Yeah.
need to get into shape. And then always just kind of like looking over at peers and just being like, I wish that I could look like that when
Right.
I work out, whereas like I feel like, you know, hippo that's
Yeah.
that's like, you know, not stomping through, but like, you know, just
Just getting through, yeah.
yeah.
So today then, like in comparison to where you're at now, what do you do when it's in person and you like see that person walk, like you think those movie scenes, the fans blowing, the lights are shining, skinny little supermodel. When you like find yourself in those moments where you're like, well, I wish I looked like that, like what do you do? Because it's not like social media, you can't just scroll past
Right.
someone who's like in front of you. Because for me, I know I sit there and sometimes I'm like, well, I could look worse or I could look better, or why don't I have abs? Well, I just ate a cake yesterday. Why don't I have like, and mine is just this back and forth game of, oh, I'm happy. No, I'm not. I want to be that. Or no, I'm happy I'm this because I'm not that. So
Yeah.
what do you do in those moments when someone comes in the room and you're like, wow, I wish I looked like that? Like, how do you process through that?
Well, yeah, and it just kind of comes down, like, half the time if someone walks into a room and I don't know them, I don't want to talk to them because I'm too anxious
Yeah,
to
fair
talk to
enough.
them. And so, well, but then I'm thinking, because my first thing usually that I notice is like, oh, like, their hair looks cute today. And it's like, well, I kind of wish that my hair was thinner so then I could do something like that.
Yeah.
But it's thicker, so I can't really. Or I like their tattoos.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's like, and I know that I have some, but
But
you
you just
know,
notice the other things.
yeah, and it's just kind of like, well, maybe like in comparison to them, like my tattoos aren't as cool, and it just was like, okay, well, they have this thing that is cool. What if what I have, if that makes any sense,
Yes, it does.
like, is not as cool as what they have.
Then when you're feeling those things, how do you move forward and not just dwell on them?
Honestly, like, I just have a really like bad attention span. So like if maybe I'll think about that for a second, and then if it's like at a a place where I'm like with friends, and I'll
Yeah.
just kind of like, oh, I see them walking. All right, I'm gonna walk in and talk with friends.
Yeah, you're like, I can bring it back together.
Yeah, whereas like I feel like there used to be a time where I could not like take my attention off of it and just
Yeah.
kind of like just super dwell on it. Or now I'm just like, oh, that's a cool person. All right, let's go back to talking.
You're like, back to it. So in those seasons when you did dwell on it, what would that look like for you? Because I know for me, when I would dwell on things, it was like, what do I do to change my appearance? And like I did mention this, but like I did go through a season of not eating. I would eat maybe one meal a day, not even half or a quarter of it. So really wasn't consistently nutritioning my body. And I'd be like, okay, now this is how I get that perfect image, because everybody says I look good. So if I eat more, then I lose looking good. If I work out more, I get a little tone, but I can't bulk up because then I don't look good anymore. And so all these different things. So when you're processing those things, just how you process through, like, did you do alterations to your life, or was it like more of a mental game or a physical game, like when you went through those seasons of
It was
dwelling on it? How did you?
yeah, most of it was just a lot of mental
Okay.
things and a lot of mental comparison.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes out of comparison. Which yeah, I think that's about all I have to say.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. So you would say like there wasn't really action behind the mentality. It was like, I would wish this,
Yeah.
but you wouldn't necessarily be like, okay, now I need to starve myself or eat certain things or do whatever.
There is periods of time where I'm like, all right, like I really just got to be
Yeah.
motivated, and I just got to do it, and then I do it for like a week maybe,
Okay.
and then I'm like, all right, like a good old like cheeseburger sounds so
good
right now, but like but not just like burgers they make at home, but like
Yeah.
I'm supposed to buy like McDonald's, I just want to get a burger, whatever,
Like, why not?
and then yeah, so it was like, it's been like that for a long time now. Like, there was a year that I was homeschooled. I can't remember if this, well, almost my whole time I was homeschooled, it was during COVID. So like starting the year, I was like, all right, like I'm gonna at least start working out every other day, and
Yeah.
then hoping that every other day turns to an like
Every day,
like
like-
maybe like every day in the weekday, but like take off the weekends,
Right.
and then hoping that like I'll grow into doing it every single day and not just whatever.
Yeah.
I did a really good job with doing it every other day for a month, and then once, because I started at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
So once February hit, it was just kind of like, okay, well I'm slowing down, so maybe I'm doing like once a week. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm still getting something. Then once March hit, I'm like, okay, I'm not doing it at all at the end of the month, and
You're like, we're done.
yeah.
Yeah. That's I hate workout plans so much. I try to stick to them, and then I'm like, well, I'm tired.
Yeah.
So I do think there is a balance between like doing things that are healthy and good for your body and then taking it too far. So do you think in the space that you're in now, that you are in a space where you're like, yeah, I want to take care of my body, but I'm not going to take it too far and like hurt yourself in lack of or too much of
Yeah.
XYZ. So that's really good. So what would be like a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's struggling with comparison? Because for me, I wouldn't say I struggled with comparison as much as I saw it, so I felt like I needed to achieve it. So like my advice for you people out there is really just find something that's healthy for you. Think about things that you enjoy doing. Like I learned that I like to run, so I was like, okay, I'm going to run, and then I'm going to eat after, or I'm going to go to the gym twice a week or go to a fitness class. You find those things that work well, that are healthy, but you're not hurting yourself in the process. So what would be your piece of advice you would give to someone who really struggles with the comparison mentality and just can't get out of that I'm not this way or I don't look this way kind of space?
Like heal yourself
Yeah.
up as you like want to like just I'm trying to find the right, like, I know what
It's
I want to
okay,
say,
you
but
can get there.
but, like, yeah, just, like, kind of find your own, like, uniqueness,
Yeah, your
I guess.
uniqueness, perspective.
Like, obviously, like, we're not all the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would be boring if we were all, like, skinny, blonde people. Like, we're not all the same. Like, we all have
Mm-hmm.
uniqueness, and I think a lot of it, for me, came from, like, okay, well, like, if I'm not skinny, then this certain guy won't like me.
Right,
Or like, I
yeah.
won't have friends because, like, they think that I'm a
Mm-hmm.
little too, not skinny.
Right.
And so, just, just do things for yourself, I guess is what
Yeah.
I was trying to say.
No, for
Like,
sure.
like, dress the way that you want to, and not
Mm-hmm.
trying to dress for, again, a guy you like, or for
Yeah.
friends, and, like,
Definitely
like,
don't do that. Don't dress
Yeah.
for the dude, dress for you.
like, and then, like, do your hair however you want to. And
Yeah.
if people judge, like,
They got their own insecurities they're working through. And they should
True.
probably watch this podcast.
the only person that should judge you is God.
Which I'm
If
glad
that-
you
is that
said
too
that.
much?
No, that's good. Because
Okay.
that's a great segue into my next question.
Yes, I did it.
You did. You read my mind. It's the initials. So that's a great segue. So in this process, like, there's so much of, I mean, you could disagree, but I feel like with body image, it's a personal battle. Like, it's a constant, it's not necessarily like someone didn't come up to me and say, you're too skinny, you're too big, you're too dark haired, you're too blonde, you're too whatever, your
Yeah.
skin's not perfect. Like, no one came up to me and attacked me. And for some people that is the case. Someone will go up to them and be like, you're too big, you're too ugly, you're too this, X, Y, Z, you fill in the blank. And if that is happening to you, I'm so sorry. So, like, I ultimately feel like when it's a body image thing, it is a personal battle, whether it's your skin, your makeup, your hair, your clothes, your size, your style. Like, body image isn't just the way you physically look, but it's how you, on the outward
Yes.
appearance, look as well.
I completely agree with that. There's only a couple instances, whatever,
Instances.
however you say that word, where someone has actually, said something to me about how I look, but a lot of it was, just
Unintentional.
me being like, man, my feet are too small. I wish they were bigger, so then,
Yeah.
like,
You can wear certain shoes or, like, borrow from a friend.
Yeah, so then people won't make fun of my
So
feet.
would you? Okay, now I have two questions, but
Okay.
this made me think of another. Look at you go. What would you say was harder for you, to have someone tell you something about how you look or your appearance or, like, your image as a whole, or your personal struggle? Like, what was harder for you? Because the personal struggle lasts longer. But those words still, like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but
Right.
those words, they can hurt me.
I think in a way it's people telling me that, because
Okay.
then it's like, I could be all confident and be like, well, you know what? Maybe my ears actually don't look like elf ears. Like,
Yeah.
like whatever. And then someone might come up to me and be like, hey, just so you know, your ears look like elf ears. And
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, oh, well, I
Didn't think about that until you said it. Thank you.
yeah, and then, like, that, usually when people say stuff like, even if it's not, specifically about, if it's just, like, mean comments,
Yeah.
whatever, even if you're like, oh, yeah, you can just ignore them, like, they're just, they're just
Right.
mean, whatever, like, it still sticks, like, there's still some things that, have happened in, like, grade school, or
Yeah.
elementary school, that someone has said to me that still sticks in my brain, and I still think about to this day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. Like, I think at the Bible verse, I'm pretty sure it's in Proverbs, where it says the tongue has the power of life and death. And I am like, it's so true. Because when you come up to me and say, wow, your outfit's ugly. Okay, well, I was insecure walking out of the house, and now you're feeding into my insecurity.
yeah.
Or, like, I wasn't feeling super confident because this is a new, like, I'm not used to this style, so I'm trying something new. And then when someone says something negative, I get in my head about it. But also for me, like, I did a 40-day sugar fast, and I was like, I didn't do it for, like, weight loss. I didn't do it for the clear skin. I was like, I just need to detox my body. And I was simply doing it because I was like, holy moly, I drank an Uptime, I drank sparkling cider. Like, especially around the holidays, I realized I was eating so many sweets, and I was like, I really
Yes.
just need to detox my body, not decompress, detox. And so I was like, I'm going to do it January until whatever, February 10th, I think is what it was. And I was telling someone about it, and they were like, you don't need to do a sugar fast. You're too skinny for that kind of stuff. And I was like, oddly enough, like, it hurt. I was like, thanks for thinking I'm skinny. I think, like, there was no chance to explain the behind of it. And I was like, wow, you actually calling me skinny makes me feel, like, more insecure that you're, like, looking at me and that, like, what I eat, I shouldn't watch, or I should be eating more. And I was like, well, I don't want to do too much. Like, I like how I am, but just those little comments, they just throw me off course sometimes. And I'm just like, I'm just trying to be, like, healthy. I'm not doing it with the purpose of something else. So it is really interesting how words, like, if someone were to say what was said to you in elementary, again, the spiral effect that would have on you, where you're like,
oh yeah,
I wasn't over that, why'd you do that? Or whatever it is. Can we be real and find out what he said?
I don't even think my mom knows about this story, but it's okay.
If you're watching this, welcome.
I'm an adult now. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But it's not even that bad of a story. So like,
Yeah.
Valentine's Day in like 3rd grade, there's this new kid, and then he hands me multiple Valentines, and then was like, hey, do you want to be my girlfriend? Me being the idiot that I am, like you know, like wanting,
3rd grade love.
like wanting to have a boyfriend. I was like, oh yeah, like
You just gave me all
like,
these
whatever.
Valentines.
Yeah, you know, the thing happened for 2 days, and then on like the 3rd day, I, you know, it was time for reading time or something with the teacher and the whole group. But she was like, or I guess I can't remember how it came about, but I think something about like us breaking up because he thought that I was fat.
That's so understanding of, like, why that would hurt. And to be told something like that at a young age, like, it's such a high influence time in your life. So it's so understandable, like, to think about, like, when you were that young, someone thought that about you.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that was, like, I think that was the same year same, like, school time year that I got my appendix out, too.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was going through it with my bodice.
Your body was just like, hey, we're just going to struggle for a hot second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's, use kind words. For my middle schoolers, if you're
Please.
watching this, think about what you say. It matters. You don't know what someone else is feeling or going through or processing. I think that's it's such a common thing to say, is think before you speak. And oftentimes you don't. Like, when you get mad, you say what you're angry about. Or when you're sad, you just go out in your sadness or your anger. But I really don't think people think how bad that hurts. Now, let's say someone came up to you today and were like, oh, you're da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, okay, do you understand what you just said? Because if I were to say that to you, I would have just crossed the line. You know what I mean? And you really just, like, it's so crazy. Like, you have to think about what you're saying, because you do not understand the ramifications that has on you. Like, I think we have a bigger preschooler in our class. But I think about if the other preschoolers or even us as teachers said what we thought about this bigger preschooler. Like, if we said, oh, this happened because you're too big, or you can't do this right because you can't fit in this because you're too big, or you can't sit here because you're too big. Like, the effects that would have on that boy to be like, I'm too big to do stuff. So, like, even at a young age, like, I've seen insecure preschoolers and I'm like, how are you guys insecure? Like, you're preschoolers. Yeah, I just think about, like, and then the older you get, you're going through this personal battle already of, I need to be good enough for my boyfriend, or I need to be a good enough friend, or I need to look a certain way so my friends want to take pictures with me, or I want to wear this certain dress so I have to be this certain size, or all these different things. So you're going through that personally, and then when someone chips in, you're like, oh my gosh, bam. Someone reassures your doubt in your mind. So, for reals, like, watch what you say. Like, it's just crazy how heavy an effect that has. But I did have a question, like, 10 minutes ago. But I still remembered it, but I'm glad we derailed.
I'm glad you remember it, because I would not have.
Oh, I remembered. We keep bringing things up, and it makes me think of it. So, in your journey, I mean, you can go back to third grade to now, you could do recently, like just in your lifetime, what were there scriptures or a message or things that you heard or like a moment you had with God where you're like, no, I am yours. I am made in your image. Like, take me as I am because God loves me. Like, did you have a moment like that at a certain point where maybe you didn't completely stop caring? Because, like, I go through seasons where I'm like, yeah, I don't care. And then something happens. I'm like, okay, I care again.
That was definitely me, where I went through seasons of like, oh my gosh, like I'm God's child. He made me just as I am. Like,
Yeah.
this is awesome. And then like this, that would usually, you know, be at the start of the year, because I'm like, well, start of the year, like new fresh start. Like I need to start.
New year, new me.
Yeah, whatever. And then like, and then the rest of the year, like it's just kind of back to that. Like, I
Yeah.
can't believe I look like that when doing that one thing. Like,
Right.
but like I think this year was like, or like the start of this year was like the first year where I was like, wait, like I'm not having compare like a lot of, you know,
You acknowledge that the comparisons weren't as they were before.
yeah. And I have been like, you know, taking some social media breaks
Yeah.
as much as possible because
Mhm.
I know that that is like probably
Yeah.
the number one reason that it affects stuff.
For sure.
And I just have a better mentality about it.
awesome.
There was in a something recently
Okay.
that kind of, you know, like pushed me back
Yeah.
a little bit, but now I'm just like, you know, it's dumb. Like I think how I want. Well, I probably should not say that. I mean, I do think how I want, but like, you know, in the like, well, I have confidence.
Yeah, like a God-rooted confidence is
Yes.
usually how I think of things, where it's humble, but you're like you're confident in who God made you to be, but not in a manner that is demeaning. It's like, no, I am humbly accepting that this is who God has made me to be, and I'm confident in the fact that this is who He made me to be. Yeah, I think for me, I cling to just like stereotypical scripture. He knit me together in my mother's womb. Like, I think when I'm going through these really dark and deep, maybe not dark, just super deep seasons of, oh my gosh, I just don't look the way I feel like I should look. I just thought of something else. We'll go there in a second. But I think about like how much time he took on the details of who I am. And this goes, I mean, that goes deeper than just my body image. It goes to my brain. But like thinking about the details, like God like takes so much time on us, and to think that I'm hating on who he designed me to be after taking so much time. Like I think if I spent time making something, and like I'm not a super crafty person, but like if I took time to make it like hours, like I cared about the details of it, and I gave it to someone and they said, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's like, but I took time, I made that for you, and I think that's why I like that scripture. And it's such, like, I feel like it's considered a stereotypical scripture, like, oh, you're struggling with your body, well, just remember God knit you together and he made you perfectly, like, love. And I'm like, no, I don't think of it that way. I think of it like, for me, it's been a deeper of, he took time. Like, I think about when I've done diamond paintings or I've knitted something, like, it takes time.
Yeah.
You can't just put it together. So I think, like, so God really did stop what he was doing and go, all right, it's time to make this BJC and put her together. Okay, she's ready. And if I wasn't how he wanted me to be, he would have restarted and been like, I'm going to get you exactly how I want you to be. So for me to be like, I hate this, I try to remind myself, like, you're hating something God created. Like, would you walk out saying that trees say hate on nature? Like, be like, trees are ugly, flowers are stupid. No, because God took time on them. Like, you walk outside and you go, hello, God's creation. Well, what if we woke up and said, hello, God's creation to ourselves?
Yeah.
But, I mean, so that was for me. I don't know if you had a scripture or just lots of chats with him, but
Yeah, no, it's
for me,
it's definitely a lot of, you know, I don't think there hasn't been any this year.
Okay.
But there's been past years where I will literally be like in bed praying, and that, you know, it soon turns to tears of being like,
Yeah.
why can't I just, you know, be normal?
For sure. And then I was going to think, oh, so we've hinted at this, but boys. So I mentioned this, but like I had a relationship that wasn't the healthiest, and I was like, I need to look my best for him because he was in sports, he was a cool kid. I just happened to be his girlfriend, and I'm like, I gotta look good enough to be next to him. So that was my mentality, and that's where a lot of that struggle came in. And he was like, oh no, you're in the best shape ever. And so then that's why I was like, okay, I can't change the shape and weight that I am. Like, I gained weight, and my brother goes, it's muscle. And I was like, no, I'm too big. So, like, there was lots of unhealthy things like that. And then, like, there's that mentality. And, like, I don't know if you've struggled with this because you're 21.
I'll be 21 at the end of the month.
So I don't know if you've had this struggle, but like each year, like I had a pretty serious relationship, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get married, and that didn't happen. But I've definitely had the struggle of how do I want to look? Like, I don't want to wait until I'm engaged to be like, oh, I need to be in wedding shape.
Yeah.
And so I try to stop myself because I'm like, Bethany, 1, you don't have a boyfriend. Pump the brakes. 2, you're not engaged. Pump the brakes. 3, you ain't getting married anytime soon as of right now. Like, you've got time. So there's no need to have this, like, yes, like what I said earlier, there's something about, like, I like going to the gym. I want to be healthy. I don't want to just sit on my couch and eat boxes and boxes of donuts and then just be like, oh, I'm like 700 pounds. So, like, would you say that you've had any struggles of, like, futuristically thinking about your body? Because I do, like, I stop and I go, well, I want to be married someday, and how do I want to look for my significant other?
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm, like, hoping that I can, you know, be a little bit skinnier than what I am now, but it's not like I need to have, like, a teeny tiny waist and I need to have
Hourglass and...
Yeah, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, like, for me, I don't really think too much about the future because I just kind of want to live in the now.
Which is so healthy.
Well, yeah,
I'm going
because
to take some advice from you.
I spent so much time, like, as a kid just, like, thinking, like, you know, like, I wonder what I'll be like, when I grow up, like, I wonder what I'll look like when I grow up, like, I wonder, like, who I'm going to marry and then now, as I'm an adult, like, I'm like, why can't I just, you know,
Be present.
wanted to be a kid and enjoy the kid things.
So that's fair, just not thinking as futuristic. So let's say I'm going to force you to think futuristic right now.
Okay.
Let's say you got a boyfriend in this near future. What is one thing that you think you might struggle with that you're maybe not struggling with now, but it might come up when you're in a relationship? Because for me, I already know food is a huge struggle with me when I'm in a relationship. It comes a lot from unhealthy relationships and then a healthy relationship, but never fully feeling comfortable to, like, eat food around guys because it's like, am I eating too much? Am I too gross for eating a burger and a half because I'm hungry? Am I eating too little? Are you going to question what I'm eating? So, like, for me, I already know that going into a new relationship anytime would be, I would struggle with food and how that affects my appearance to them. Is there something related to your appearance that scares you about getting in relationships? Or you're like, or maybe that's not even thought. Like, let me give you an example. Like, sometimes, not as much, like, more when I was in high school and middle school, I went through, like, you know, you're at the mall, you see a cute guy, but then I would go on these spirals of, well, maybe he's not looking back because I'm not skinny enough. Or maybe he's not looking back because I'm having a really bad hair day today. Or I don't wear makeup, so maybe he's not looking back at me because of that. And sometimes I have those thoughts, like, going into a relationship, and I'm like, maybe he's talking to me because he thinks I'm cute, but it's not going to follow through because he's like, yeah, she's not cute enough. So is there any, like, appearance things, maybe not just with your body image, maybe it's your hair, maybe it's your eyes, maybe it's your makeup, like, whatever. Is there something that you've thought of that you're like, not necessarily scares you to get into a relationship, but the thought has risen up and you're like, what if?
Yeah. A lot of it comes back down to, like, me not being the skinniest person.
Okay.
Because it's like if I see this guy and I've seen, like, his past girlfriends have all, you know, been
Looked a certain way.
and then it's just kind of like, well, maybe I don't want to have a crush on him anymore because like, what if we get into a relationship and then he ends up breaking my heart anyway?
Or, like, I don't look the way all his other girlfriends have looked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, it's not like that though.
Yeah. I definitely think, and just based off what you've said, I don't want to assume, but I'm going to assume for a second, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that we definitely read too, and mainly with females. I've never talked with a guy about this kind of stuff, so like I don't know what a guy goes through with this process. We definitely like overthink it.
Yes.
So like there are things that I think about, and then I realize that no one else is thinking it.
Yeah.
Or like,
Oh, yeah.
I've been in a relationship and I'm like, well, I just want to look skinny, and then he's like, but I want you to be healthy, and I'm like, oh, you're not thinking about if I have a six pack or if my arms are muscular or I'm a certain height. You just care more about the healthy side of it. And I was like,
Yeah.
what an interesting thing. Like, I just don't, I overthink, and I'm like, oh, he's going to hate me because I don't look this way. Or he's not going to want to date me because he's going to go out with me and be like, wow, she's not skinny enough, or she's not big enough, or she's not whatever. And I know, like, again, I don't want to assume that you have that same thought process, but like, it's just something that I'm like,
Sort of do. Yeah.
yeah, where it's like, I overthink.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need the validation behind it. I'm not a big validation person. I struggle if I said, wow, I'm struggling with, like, I just hurt with how I look right now. And if someone said, yeah, you're totally validated in that, I'm like, I don't want you to tell me I'm validated in that.
Yeah.
I want you to, like, help me process through it. I'd rather process through it than be said, oh, you're validated, because that just makes me think you're coming up with the short answer of how not to have the conversation.
Yeah.
But that is how I feel with, like, I overthink it, and I'm like, I want someone to talk me through it. Like, let's talk about it, not confirm, oh, I love you just the way you are. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and if we want to go back to, like, guys, you know, like, or, like, thinking of, like, feeling like you need to dress up or whatever for a
Yes.
certain boy, for the date that I went on, like, the way that we met, like, it was at a youth group, but, like, I went into it being like, I don't look my best today, but I'm just gonna go whatever. And then, you know,
And
the
you're
guy,
okay with
and
that.
then this guy asked me out, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I didn't need to, like,
Didn't matter as much as you thought.
yeah. I mean, I love dressing up because then I can be like, oh my gosh, girl, you look so cute today.
Yes, hyping yourself up.
I love hyping myself up. I feel like that sounds really selfish.
No, so I totally understand. I was literally just about to say that. I was going to say, here's my struggle where I go, like, when I'm in a good headspace about how I look with my outfit, with my body, when I'm just like, dude, I'm on the right track and I feel good, I start, like, hyping myself up, and then I go, how do I do this without losing sight of God? Because
Yes.
I didn't do this. God did this. And, like, he's been working something through in my mind where I'm able to be in a place of, like, peace and satisfaction. But there is an element that's fun to be like, ooh, I look good today. Well, there is there's ways to do that without, like, you're not going to go posting around like, I look good today. I did this.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
yeah, but no, I totally understand when you said I feel so selfish. I'm like, I feel that all the time where I'm like, I don't feel guilty for being happy with how I look. But yeah, just like being able to bring it back to God every time. And it's so funny. Like, it makes me think, off the topic of body image, it makes me think about when life goes good and we stop praying or we stop asking for things because life is going good. And that's how I feel with my body image, is like, once I feel good, I stop asking God or thanking him for it. And I'm like, no, I really need to just be giving him praise and be like, thank you for giving me a day where I feel good. Like, thank you for helping me appreciate how I look today. Thank you for helping me feel good about myself. Like, I appreciate that I can love myself extra today because of you, not because I did anything. Like, sometimes I work out and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so good today. Like, that workout just flipped the switch. And I'm like, no, God flipped the switch, but he used this to help do that process.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I started doing that too, just like praying, like, even when life is good right now. Like, just like, you know, thank you for a safe drive to
Yeah.
work today, and thank you that I get to
Things
do
that
these
don't
things
seem
today.
as important to pray about.
Yeah, like the silly little things that are, you know, fun things to pray about.
And I think it goes with, like, how we feel about ourselves too. Like, to ask for a humble confidence isn't a bad thing. Like, I don't think it's selfish to ask to want to feel confident in who God made you to be. Like, ask for it if it helps you. Like, it's not a hurtful thing to do that. But, oh, God's so cool.
He is. Yeah, kind of going back to, like, saying little prayers.
Yeah.
We actually were talking about that at our young adults group
Okay.
a couple weeks ago, I think, where it was just kind of like sometimes, like, you know, the silly prayers are important sometimes because
Yeah.
there's this man who prayed for God to pay half his rent, and then God paid half his rent, and he was like, well, why didn't I ask for more?
Yes.
So
My dad actually has a story about that too with his college tuition. He was like, okay, God, just do half. And then he afterwards it was like, why didn't you just ask for the full of it? Mm-hmm. Like, there's no harm in asking for the full of things. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't hurt to say, if you're trying to cover tuition, it does not hurt to say, Lord, please help me cover tuition. Because maybe in that, he will choose to cover half. But if you ask for half, maybe he wanted to cover full, but you didn't ask for it. Not that he wanted to do something that you didn't ask for. But yeah, silly little prayers. Like, it's funny to call them silly little prayers because they're not, like, little or silly.
yeah,
But no, that's just so true. Like,
yeah.
everything you have to say, just bring it to God. Like, he's going to do with it what he wants. Well, thank you for joining the Beyond the Surface of podcast.
Yes.
So glad that you could be here and be the first guest
Woo!
and the first episode. So proud of you. Stay tuned. Episodes will come when they come. When I find people to film with, I'll never do a podcast episode by myself. Well, we will see you guys on the next episode.
Stay blessed.
Have a good day.